Good morning, everyone. Pastor Chuck Blair here, joining you actually from Maryland today. I was down, had a set of meetings in my way back to Philadelphia. So we're doing 10 minutes of calm today from south of the Mason-Dixon line. So wonderful to have you here joining us today. And today what we're looking at is this concept of being graceful. And a little background too. One of my real heroes is a pastor by the name of Deitrich Bonhoeffer. And Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a pastor in Nazi Germany. What he did in Nazi Germany was he had been part of rescuing some Jewish folks and ended up dying in a concentration camp. Really, I think it was like a week or two before the end of World War II. And he's a very famous man. Lots of beautiful things that he wrote. Lots of beautiful things written about him. And one of the concepts he talked a lot about was the idea of cheap grace. And he said, how is it that Germany, a Christian country, could actually be so much part of, so much pulled in by Hitler, so much pulled into the Holocaust, despite being a Christian faith? Pretty important question to ask. And what he believed that why that was able to happen was because of the concept of cheap grace. In other words, we're saved by God's grace, but that it's a cheap thing. It's just some words and that's it. There's no active part of it. And so that's clearly a challenge. And from a Christian New Church perspective, Emanuel Swedenborg, who he was very familiar with what Swedenborg wrote, given that his grandmother was raised in the New Church, uh, is Emanuel Swedenborg would have been very much going, yeah, that's right, that really is a challenge, and very much along the lines of what Jesus writes in the New Testament, where he's constantly saying, like, look, what are you going to do with your faith? What are you going to do with your faith? What are you going to do with your faith? Jesus is clearly an action-oriented person, where there's this mixture of both faith and this mixture, as well as what are you going to do with it? How are you going to serve other people? How are you going to take care of other people? How are you going to do those things? And here's a piece from a biblical commentary, again, that we use here in my denomination. And this is where Emanuel Swedenborg talks about that. Faith separated from neighborly love is such that people can easily be talked into it. As a result, they are easily ensnared. And it's kind of this trap, right? That boy, if I just say the right thing, that's it. And folks, just think of it. Those of you who are married or in relationships, it's not just about saying I love you. It's not just about saying I do. There's much more to it. I mean, there's a whole action oriented part of it in terms of what are you going to do with it? How do you live out these vows? And that's maybe one way to see faith, is how do you live these things out? It's it's interesting to think, like, with grace, and when we can really live into it, what does it really mean? Well, I believe it's where we start to see the world full of grace. And one of my favorite definitions of grace is it's where for a moment we see the world as God does. And some of that's going to be real positive. There's a whole, like, slide over here, beautiful. We're sitting out, we're looking out on a dock, we're looking out at beautiful water. And, I went on a walk today by the water. It's beautiful. You get a sense of God being there, and a beautiful sense of hearing the birds and the tree frogs and this, that, just this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That is one way to see it. And then there's also this other part of being able to live life gracefully, where we see the world as God does. And at that part over there, what we're able to see gracefully is we're able to see much, much more deeply. And it's where we're even able to see, like, the struggles of the world, which is really fascinating to me, where we see the struggles, we see what the hard parts are of the world. And that's also being able to see the world filled with grace, and the gentleness that we bring there. I'm thinking of Les Mis, all kinds of movies where somebody's actually able to see for a minute grace fully. And it's gonna have a side over here where we get to see the beauty of the world, and has a side over here where we're gonna see the brokenness of the world. And both wrapped together is where we start to see with grace. And there will be nothing cheap about that. It takes work to see the beauty in the world, and it takes work to see the brokenness of the world, both of which should come together and move us into life and move us through life. And that's where Christianity can actually become a fairly costly religion, because it's going to ask things of all of us. It's going to ask us it's going to ask us to step up. I mean, that's just putting it as simply as possible in all kinds of ways. So, folks, may you have a day that is lived grace fully, and a life that embodies a grace where yeah, there are these vows, of course, quote unquote, but there's also this commitment on the other side of it, this commitment to action. And just ask God to open your eyes today, both to see the beautiful part of grace and to see the broken part of it as well, and to bring both into this very graceful way of seeing the world. So that is my thought for today, folks. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little meditation, a little prayer, a little blessing, and then we'll say hi to folks on social media. So with that, friends, let's get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, friends, let's give a little cheery hello, friends, to people here. Let me just pull up my little Facebook account. All right. Okie dokie. Let's see the comments here. A couple of comments there. Linda, good morning. Good morning to you. And Sherry writes, to love another person is to see the face of God. One of the most beautiful lines in Les Mis, and that goes back to Jacob and Esau. An incredibly powerful line. Thank you for sharing that, Sherry. That is indeed quite beautiful. Now let's flip on over. All right. All right, a few more comments to share here. Kim, good morning to you, my friend, and I hope you're doing well. Sherry, same for you. Hope you're doing well. Tina writes, good morning, Chuck. Thank you for your beautiful message. Nature is truly a gift from God that I so embrace. And it's just, and it's funny. It's funny, Tina, not funny, haha, funny, but it's always amazing the way water works, right? Like just somehow being around water can be this incredibly deep spiritual experience, which I find to be very powerful. And Marcus, good morning to you, buddy. And again, great job with the music and the production stuff on Sunday, my friend. So I want to say thank you, folks. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.